Well, welcome to today's rant. And guess what? The Earth is still in its orbit, and which is a miracle. Do you realize all that it takes to keep the Earth in our orbit? Now, this is free. I'm just waiting for a few people to join us, but it's a revelation, an awesome revelation that should build faith in all of us. You know, if you were to break down the distance between the Earth and the Sun to the equivalent of, make it of a scale of 100 miles, that if the Earth deviated from its orbit, the equivalent of 1/8 of an inch, about that much, over a 100-mile distance, then we would either freeze or fry. We are in the tiniest slice of space we could possibly be in, orbiting the sun, that could sustain life here. And then you think, wow, that's unbelievable. How did we just land? The Earth just land in this perfect place. Of course, atheists will tell you it was by chance. But guess what? They found out a whole lot more. If it weren't for our moon being hung exactly where it is, being exactly the mass that it is, we would not stay in this orbit. It's helping to lock us in orbit. And if the Earth did not wobble, and the tides and all that the moon creates weren't exactly the way they are, we would wobble out of this tiny little slice of space that we're in to sustain life. Then it gets even more bizarre. It looks like all the planets in our solar system are just slung out there at random, doesn't it? Their sizes, their mass, and where they are, their distance from us, and how they're placed out there, their gravitational forces actually all work to keep the Earth in this tiniest little slice of space to sustain life. Now, to think that one of those things happened by accident is bizarre. To think that all of them, no computer could compute the odds. They said, I read where they said they still didn't have, if they connected all the computers in the world together, it still would not have enough power to compute the odds that just the gases came together on planet Earth that would sustain life, compared to how the degree to which those gases are found throughout the universe. We are living every single day, every single breath is a miracle because somebody is keeping us. Now, if he can do that, do you think he can take care of your little stuff? Your little life? How about the little stuff going on in our country, all the upheaval and stuff going on? Guess what? That's why it says he sits in the heavens and laughs. He's saying, are you kidding me? It's going to be easy for God to work out everything, really easy. And we don't have to sweat anything. That's why as we talk about current events, talk about the issues going on today, we don't ever want to do it out of fear. We don't want to do it out of anger and rage. That's not what we're seeking to do either. We just want the truth. We want to know what's going on so that we can be the light and salt we're called to be, have the proper perspective, and help others as we can to be at peace with what's going on. Guess what? It's all going to work out. It's going to work out beautifully. But, there are a lot of ultimate issues, I think, being raised in our country today and in many countries, many nations. The tragic terrorist attack last night in Barcelona, one of the beautiful countries, one of the beautiful cities, and just terrible, and what they're trying to do is put fear in everybody so they won't get in crowds anymore. Put fear in everybody so they going and coming to ball games and everything. They're going to be fearful of a terrorist attack a terrorist attack, because the weapon seems to be the favorite weapon of terrorists now are vehicles, trucks, buses, cars. And but I tell you, we don't have to walk in fear. We can walk in faith. And I think there is a place for being vigilant, being wise, and not being foolish. We want to do those things. But, it says the peace of God, it actually says the God of peace will crush Satan under your feet. Then say the God of war. He uses the God of war, or the Lord of armies, Lord of hosts, more than any other title. But he says it's the God of peace that will crush Satan under your feet. So, we serve the Prince of Peace. He dwells in the city of peace. Peace is the linchpin fruit of the Spirit. If you lose your peace, you're going to lose your love, you're going to lose your patience, you're going to lose everything else. So we must guard our peace. Determine we're not going to respond in rage, we're not going to respond in fear. We're going to walk in faith, because we see the one who's sitting on the throne above all rule and authority and power and dominion, and we do not have to worry. Worry is an ultimate form of pride. That's why in 1 Peter, he writes, humble yourself before the mighty hand of God. And then he tells us how to humble ourselves. And remember, if anybody understands anything about the Lord, the Bible, Christianity, one thing we should really get is God gives us grace to the humble and he resists the proud. So if there's anything we should be wanting to do, is to humble ourselves. But then he tells us how to humble ourselves. He says, casting all of your anxiety upon him. He cares for you. How is that humbling ourselves? What's humbling ourselves? Because worry is the ultimate pride of thinking this problem is too big for God. I've got to work this out myself. So when we cast those worries, that anxiety upon him, we're saying, Lord, we trust you. You're big enough. And guess what? He is big enough. He's more than big enough for any problem you have, any issue, anything that's trying to knock you out of your orbit. He's got you covered. Trust me. Thank you for joining me for today's rant.